Oh, yes.
Different from like coastal.
Test.
Me, you have to write everything down.
Yes. A microphone test?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, while we're waiting to start, I just figured we should do a microphone test. So this is me. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Oh, try again.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
A little more.
Can you hear it now?
Closer.
How about now?
Maybe the other one. The other one was better.
Can you hear me now? I don't know what to do unless I scream. This is the way I talk.
Yeah, try the first one you had, actually.
Yes.
That's good.
Perfect.
We'll get there. Okay. Okay. Step away.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think he knows.
Check. Can you guys hear me? Do I need to do anything with the mic?
You gotta talk right into it. It's so close.
Okay, speak loudly.
Speak louder.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. I'm Nick Crothers. I'm the president of the board for the Superior Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us tonight. Whether you're watching from home or you're here with us tonight, we appreciate it. The Chamber recognizes the importance of providing our community with the opportunity to hear directly from the trustee candidates on key issues, which is why we host this forum each election cycle. It's also crucial for the Chamber to understand how trustees plan to collaborate with us at the Chamber. But we understand that this forum, while focused on business-related issues, it's also important to address the broader community concerns. And so that's why we open the floor for all residents to submit their questions, and we're excited to have received more than ever before. We've done our best to include as many of those questions tonight as possible. We'd also like to thank our co-hosts, the League of Women Voters of Boulder County, for partnering with us and also moderating tonight's event. As a reminder, both the Superior Chamber and the League of Women Voters are nonpartisan, and we do not endorse candidates. Finally, after the candidate forum, there will be three brief presentations on Superior's sales tax increase, RTD's debuting measure, and the Superior Home Rule Committee to help inform your decisions this upcoming election. Now I'd like to introduce our moderator from the League of Women Voters, Martine Eleanor.
I'd like to ask all audience members and candidates to please turn off all electronic devices or put them in airplane mode. And thank you in advance for helping us maintain a respectful, civil, and safe forum space. Welcome to the Superior Town Candidate Forum, sponsored by the Superior Chamber of Commerce and facilitated by the League of Women Voters of Boulder County. My name is Martine Eleanor, and I am a proud member of the League, and I am pleased to serve as moderator for tonight's forum. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. For over 100 years, we have encouraged informed and active participation in government and influenced public policy through education and advocacy. The Superior Chamber of Commerce's mission is to strengthen, support, and promote the economic vitality of our member businesses and the community of Superior. Neither the League nor the Chamber supports or opposes political candidates or parties. Now to the forum. The Superior Board of Trustees adopts ordinances and resolutions, appropriate funds to conduct town business, and provides policy direction for town governance through town staff and advisory groups. The trustees are elected for 4-year terms. For the November 5th, 2024 municipal election, Superior voters can vote for 3 candidates from those running for town trustee. The 3 candidates with the most votes will fill the 3 vacancies on the board. Note that candidate Bob McCool is on the ballot but is no longer running, so votes for this candidate will not be counted. The format for tonight's forum will be as follows. Each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement. We will then begin with questions that have been submitted electronically. Questions have been reviewed by volunteer screeners for clarity, and we have combined several similar questions into one question on that topic. We will try to ask as many questions as possible as time allows. Okay. And for the opening, there we are. For most questions, each candidate will have up to 1 minute to answer. However, I may expand the time to answer depending on the question. The forum is being recorded for live streaming on Public Access Channel 8 and will be available for viewing after the forum on Channel 8, the League's website, Vote 411, and the Superior Chamber's website. For the audience, please refrain from clapping, booing, or otherwise showing your approval or disapproval of any response. Please respect the candidates and honor the dignity of democracy. Disruptions will only delay the forum. The candidates are seated in the order they will appear on the general election ballot. And now for the opening statements. For the opening statements, we will begin with candidate Craycraft.
Thank you. Welcome to the full room and everyone online. My name is Heather Craycraft, and I have been a resident for over 26 years. have had the pleasure of kind of working through all of our areas in town. So a proud mom of 2 grown children now who do not live in the area, but that's okay. So got to do all the school stuff. I had the opportunity while I was doing that to then get the opportunity to work at the Chamber of Commerce. So obviously I have a very strong support in me. It was in me for the 13 years I got to be part of that nonprofit, and was very proud of the position it was put in and love everything it's doing now. So thank you, Chamber, for putting this together. And I then was a home rule commissioner and had the joy of working with fellow residents on that charter, and look forward to working on that all the way through December now. I would love to get to know more of you. I will hopefully share more about myself. Thank you.
Candidate Serbu.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming, and to everyone online. It's fantastic that you're here watching us. My name is Jason Serbu. I'm a current trustee on the town board, and I've been in Superior since 2017. I live in downtown. I'm a licensed architect. I'm one of the unfortunate few that lost our home in the Marshall Fire, but being an architect, it was fantastic. I was able to utilize my skills to help people build back and come back to their homes. Living in downtown is just a fantastic opportunity. I'm definitely looking to push a vibrant downtown agenda going forward with other things that I'm focusing on. And if you ever see me walking around, I'm usually with my wonderful wife, Donna, my 2 way too rambunctious Bernese mountain dogs. So please stop and say hello. They love the attention. I've got 2 grown children who come and go on occasion. And I just really love living in Superior, and I would love to retain my seat as trustee. Thank you.
Candidate Foster.
Good evening. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate the Chamber hosting tonight, and welcome to everybody in the room and watching online. My name is Mike Foster, and I'm running for Superior Trustee. We moved to Superior in 2017, starting off at the Bell Flatirons. It was a wonderful place to live for a period of time until our house in downtown Superior was completed in 2020, so we've been living there ever since. Shortly after moving into downtown, I joined ACES and have been serving as the chair of ACES for the last 4 years. And in 2023, I was elected to the Home Rule Commission, where I served as vice chair. I've worked in local government most of my career, working for the city of San Jose, Jefferson County, Boulder County. So I have a broad range of local government experience. And that experience has taught me how to build strong collaborative relationships. And I think that based on my experience, I can bring a reasoned, rational, and responsive decision-making to the town of Superior.
Candidate Horowitz.
That is difficult to follow, right? 3 great candidates. Thank you, Chamber, for putting this on in the League of Women Voters, and thank you, everybody, for showing up. This is actually what I want to see more of at board meetings. I want to see community involvement. My wife and I are raising our 3.5-year-old son here in Superior. We've been here since February of 2020, so newer residents, probably the newest one up here. But that doesn't mean that I don't care about our community and I don't want to see our community do better. So I thought about, writing an opening speech, but that's not who I am. I'm not going to sit up here and read a piece of paper. I'm just a guy. I'm a community advocate, a father, somebody that wants to see Superior do better.
Candidate Kumpfner.
Can you guys hear me all right? Good. My name is George A. Kuffner. I'm a resident of Superior, been here for 40 years. I'm as native, politely saying it as it comes, grassroots as it comes. I survived the fire in 2021, the Marshall Fire, got burned out, and I survived the flood in 2013, and I didn't get washed out, and I'm still here. I have 25 years of intergovernment working as a subcontractor for the town of Superior, which I no longer do. My policies are, we need to have a stronger community. We need to build a future for the youth of our community. I'm a father of a 9-year-old son, and I want to put back into my community what my community gave to me. And that's what I want to do. I don't have the answers, but by God, I'll get them for you, and I'll fight for everybody in this town. I'm for the people, by the people of this town. Thank you.
Candidate Hammerly.
Hi, I'm Sandy Hammerly, and I want to open tonight by wishing Happy Jewish New Year to those who celebrate. A 22-year resident of Superior, I've served our residents as a member of the Board of Trustees for almost 6 years, and I seek your support to continue in this capacity. I currently serve the town as a member of the Finance Committee and the Transportation Safety Committee, and also as the town's representative to the Boulder County Consortia of Cities and to the alternate to the Denver Regional Council of Governments. I have 40 years' experience providing inclusive leadership as a staff professional and board officer to local, national, and international nonprofit organizations. I retired in October 22nd, 2022, and my work is now focused on being a trustee for the town of Superior.
For the first question, we'll start with candidate Serbu. What are your top 3 priorities you would focus on as trustee to benefit the town, and how do you plan to address them?
The first is a vibrant downtown. Main Street in downtown Superior is very, very important, and we must ensure its success. We must do everything we can to try and get businesses into the Main Street corridor by offering incentives or working with the developer to make rates reasonable for business ventures. The second one I'd really like to focus on is multi-generational housing. I know everybody talks about multifamily housing and they talk about affordable housing, but the big problem that we see in Superior right now is a lot of people are generationally moving out of their homes because they're too big and they're trying to downsize. There's got to be a way that we can create spaces so that houses can be reused for generations, so that people can stay in their home, their children can take it over, and the children can be taken care of by the grandparents, etc. And the last, of course, is the Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport. I was a member of the CNR for the board, and I've worked very, very hard to create some measurable success, and I will continue to do so.
Candidate Foster.
My top 3 priorities for the town are the economy, the environment, and equity. On the economy side, we need to have a very diverse tax base. I think 5 businesses represent 65% of the sales tax revenue for the town of Superior, and we need to diversify our sales tax base in order to be a resilient community. On the environment, as the chair of ACES for the last 4 years, I've been pushing the town to take significant steps towards achieving 0 carbon reductions by 2050, and we need to continue on that pathway. On the equity side, we need to make sure that we've got a variety of housing options for the people that are foundational to our community, and within that equity is addressing the noise out at Rocky Mountain Airport. It's become a nuisance to our town, and from an equity standpoint, that needs to be addressed.
Candidate Horowitz.
So my top 3 priorities are: number 1, smart economic development, sustainability, and community involvement. Smart economic development, to me, that means not only bringing businesses here to diversify, like Mike said, the tax revenue base, but also keeping them here. What can we do to keep them here in our town? It's great if we can get them here, but we need to find a way to keep them here and be profitable and sustainable in their business. Number 2 is sustainability. You know, in my professional life, I'm the director of sustainability for a large commercial green building consulting firm. So environmental, I care very much about the environment and want to keep our open spaces and keep everything environmentally friendly for the people that live in town. And the third one is more community involvement. Like I said in my opening statement, it's great to see everybody here. And if you see me out in the community, I would love to stop and chat with you.
Candidate Kumpfner.
My 3 pick would be, 1 would be the Rocky Mountain Airport. That is the number 1 priority that we are already in litigation with. We need to hammer that out and get it done with and send it down the river. That is the number 1 thorn in this town side. The airplane noises, the pollution, it falls under the environment as well. Your hearing loss up there on the south side of Rock Creek, with all the airplane traffic, you'll go deaf. That's the number 1 issue I feel as a candidate that needs to be addressed. Number 2 would be environment studies, open space. I love open space. I think we all love the open space around town. We need to keep that safe. We need to keep that in, I guess, politely saying, I'm looking for the word that will come to me later on. But number 3 would be the taxes too. We need to figure a way to diverse our taxes for our local community as well, for our residents.
Candidate Hammerly.
Thank you. Number one priority for me is mitigation of the safety and quality of life risks posed by RMMA. We have embarked on a lawsuit, and I am 100% support of us taking it to the end. However, we cannot forget that the risks posed by Rocky Mountain Airport will not go away just because we solve the noise and quality of life issues. Number two, we have to continue our support for Marshall Fire, families impacted by the Marshall Fire. We have about 65% of our residents have returned home, but we should not be satisfied until everyone is home. Finally, we need to fix our roads and community gathering spaces, and in order to do that quickly, we need to support the tax issue that is on, sales tax issue on the ballot.
Candidate Craycraft.
Thank you. Like many of us, obviously we work well together, is economic development, making sure the balance of our community is both residential focused as well as businesses, and how do we collaborate to make those seamless and benefit all of us. I also would love to really delve into our transportation. In the past, we've had options that were there and then were taken away because we were not using them, and I believe they're things that can help our businesses thrive, as well as many of us get around, whether we're older or younger. Thirdly, I am also part of the Marshall Fire family, fortunately or unfortunately, but through that transition, I learned a lot, and I would love to be part of that solution moving forward with those who are still making decisions, battling through, or really just need some encouragement to finish strong, because that's how we do it here in Superior. Thank you.
For the next question, we'll start with candidate Foster. If the town's sales tax ballot measure passes, Superior will have approximately $20 million from bond proceeds. How would you prioritize and allocate those funds? And what specific projects or initiatives would you focus on to serve the community best?
Great question. Yes, I do support the sales tax measure for a number of reasons. One, it's going to add 31 cents to every $100 that's spent here in the town. And 70% of that sales tax revenue comes from people that don't live in Superior. So for all intents and purposes, other people in other communities are helping to pay for Superior amenities. I would prioritize those by finishing the Rock Creek Parkway roadway, and then whatever funds are left over, I would focus on pools, playgrounds, and parks. Building out those amenities, replacing those amenities that are past their useful life. With that in mind, though, we also need to look at how we can cut some spending to free up operational dollars, and I've got a number of ideas and plans on how to do that.
Candidate Horowitz.
I am in favor of the sales tax measure. Like Mike said, 70% of the revenue comes from outside of the town of Superior, and that 70% are the people that are putting the stress on our roads and the infrastructure. So it only makes sense to get that money from them to help us rebuild our roads to what we need them to be. I also think that we need to reinvest that money back into the community so that our kids and our people in our community have the open spaces, have the playgrounds. You know, my wife and I, we frequent the community park all the time with our son, and it's hard to go out there in the summer. So we need to bring our playgrounds and our community spaces back up to what they should be for our great community.
Candidate Kupner.
Well, I do not support the tax measure at all, because as a town, just learned not too long ago, the town gets about $56 million a year annually budget to spend on infrastructure. And if you cannot control that kind of money and you're asking for more money, you have the wrong elected officials up here doing the wrong job. If it does pass, the number one thing that I would put back into is our infrastructure of our roads, make sure our water lines are fresh and our valves need to be replaced. Our sewer lines need to be jetted as well. Infrastructure. Our Superior Metropolitan Interchange District needs to have some infrastructure done on it too. That'd be a good start. That's where the money I would personally go if it gets voted.
Candidate Hammerly.
We really need to fix our roads, pools, playgrounds, and community gathering spaces here in Superior. The town's proposed sales tax ballot issue will enable us to move quickly to get these things improved. However, it's up to the voters in the town of Superior whether they wish us to do this sooner or later. I do think we need to gather information from our residents prior to spending the money, and this will involve public engagement so that we make sure we're spending that $20 million where they most want the money spent.
Candidate Craycraft.
I too support the sales tax measure. Having worked with many of the local businesses, that was an important part, obviously, of how they operate their day-to-day business. And attracting those who are outside of our town boundaries has always been something that's been important, because all of us do support local, but always don't find the things we need here. So any way we can do to attract that business closer to home would be great, especially on the hours that maybe are not the busy hours on our trafficked streets. But to say that I would not approach the infrastructure as well, obviously those are important things, as many of us have discussed, for the business as well as the amenities for our community, because the residents are obviously the ones that are the important ones and will help us make those decisions moving forward.
Candidate Serbu.
I am in favor of the sales tax with a caveat. The first thing we have to look at with any measures of spending money is safety. Are we creating safe streets for our children or our families? Do we have adequate police presence and public safety? Second, obviously taking care of infrastructure is a very, very important issue. Are our roads safe? Our infrastructure, sewer lines, everything, are those up to the best standards that we can provide? And lastly, of course, what can we do to create a better sense of community? Right now, we spend a lot of money on events that we receive no income coming back from, and that's something we need to really look at seriously. And lastly, as a board that's very, very interested in the welfare financially, we have to learn how to say no to things which aren't beneficial, that we're putting money towards that we just don't seem to be getting benefit out of. We're wasting a lot of money on things, and we're asking the residents, and that's the caveat, we're asking you to give us more money. We have to prove that we're very, very good and financially responsible.
The next question will start with candidate Horowitz. What does equity mean to you, and how will you work to apply an equity lens to community issues?
I mean, to me, equity means that everybody gets a voice, right? Everything's not always fair, but I believe everything should be equitable. So if we involve the community more and hear their voice, we'll definitely have a more equitable community.
Candidate Kumpner.
Equity, well, is such a big word, and I'm going to tell you, if we have equity in the town and we invest equity, you're investing something, the community is going to invest into something, and you need to be transparent with your residents and your peers. That'd be equitable to get the voice out for everybody.
Candidate Hammerly.
Equity means that we make sure that every citizen in a community has an equal opportunity to participate, to live here, to engage, and to be heard. A recent survey by the town reported that 69% of residents here in the town of Superior felt we did a good job of valuing, respecting residents from diverse backgrounds. And almost 80% felt we did a good job of making all residents feel welcome. But only 47% felt we did a good job of attracting residents from diverse backgrounds. In the past, we've talked about developing an advisory committee on the topic of equity and diversity, and I think maybe it's time we think about that.
Candidate Craycraft.
Equity is a great question. I think it's something that if we are open to listening, continuing to ask questions of each other, and really taking note of where those answers are coming from, I think each of us sharing our opinions and being open to listening and learning from others will create a more equitable community. And I'll be curious to hear what others have to say moving forward, because I think this is a great question to ask the residents as we're moving through this process.
Candidate Serbu.
It's very easy to look at equity through the lens of what we're doing right now. Any policy that anybody makes on the board has to echo what's going to happen in 20 years' time, because populations change. They become more diverse. They become more open. They become more inclusive. I think that what we need to do as a board is we need to embrace the fact that Superior is going to evolve into a very, very open and inclusive community, and we need to be very, very sensitive to different groups, ideologies, backgrounds, religious beliefs, and just the way they live their lives. And I think this community has gone from a bedroom community when it was first created, basically serving Boulder and Denver, to its own community, which can sustain itself with businesses and jobs. And I think we need to be very, very open to everybody that comes in, to basically like a small miniature version of the American dream. This is a small melting pot that's going to get much more diverse in the future.
Candidate Foster.
This is a really important question, and one that I deal with a lot in my day job. Equity for me is making sure that we have a welcoming and inclusive community. Having a very diverse community is also a more resilient community. The way I think of this is the rainforest and a lodgepole pine forest. A lodgepole pine forest is a single species that is very susceptible to disease, bark beetles, forest fire. It's not a very resilient community. But if you think about the rainforest with the multitude of species, plants, and animals that are living there, all with their differences, but living in harmony and living in synergy, you have a very incredibly resilient community. So if there's a pest that comes through, the ecosystem remains strong. So for me, having equity, diversity, and inclusion in the town is incredibly important to me, and having a wife that's biracial, it's something that's near and dear to my heart.
For the next question, we'll start with candidate Horowitz. What is your current stance on the Rocky Mountain? Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes. Yep. One more? Yeah. Candidate Kuffner.
I'm sorry, you repeat the question since everybody was talking.
Yes, yes. It will not count against your time. What is your current stance on the Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport? Do you believe they are infringing on Superior or are an overall benefit to the city?
Wow, that is a double-edged sword. And to tell you the truth, we have a lot of open space in our town, in our community. And I just don't see why, when cooler heads prevail after a litigation lawsuit, maybe we can ask them politely if they would mind flying a little bit farther south of Highway 128 and west of McCaslin Boulevard. Boulder County has 43,000 acres of open space. Why can't they fly over the, wildlife refuge, or up there off of 93, up there around the mountains? Why can't they do their turnarounds and everything that they do up there? That's one question that I would like to ask them, and the reason why. But I think the environmental impact from Rocky Mountain Airport has caused a lot of headaches, and it'll cause a lot of turmoil in town. And it's caused a lot of neighbors to get upset about things. So if we can find a piece for that, I'm all for it.
Thank you, and sorry about that mix-up. Candidate Hammerly.
Thank you. First, I in no way want to diminish the work attempted by previous members of the CNR in general and the town of Superior in particular. We've all been operating with the deck stacked against us. Only Jeffco and the airport could really take any meaningful action, and they have demonstrated by word and action that they don't want to. As a result, Superior and Boulder County took bold action and filed legal action to abate the public nuisance stemming from piston engine aircraft conducting touch and goes at the airport. This is not just a south of Colton issue, but has a potential loss of property values, could be devastating to Superior's financial issues. We must not forget the safety issues being located so close to an airport. Since 2012, Colorado ranks 6th in single-engine airplane accidents, even though we are 21st in total population.
Candidate Craycraft.
Thank you. The airport is obviously an important part of our community, and it has caused a lot of people angst, I guess is an easy way for me to say it. And I've heard that obviously is putting my name out there for a position. It's been interesting to see how many people come find me and ask me questions. I fully support what the Board of Trustees have done as a community to really push this forward, and I am supportive of that moving forward. And if I'm given the opportunity to kind of be behind the scenes and learn more about that process, I will take that seriously and effectively and really look forward to finding a solution that really takes care of a lot of people's situations.
Candidate Serbu.
Absolutely, it's a problem for our community. My first time I was going through South Rock Creek, the noise from the planes is unbearable for the people during the day. The first thing that I took, my day one being a trustee, I took the airport and the CNR because I thought there was a way to solve this. And I believe there's incremental solutions that we can do, and I've been working on those. I'd love to see the lawsuit play itself out, but frankly, it's going to be another 6 months to a year, and then there could be, they could contest that, and it could be another year and a half. What can we do right now to make this community better for our residents? The nighttime flight pattern that I created, which is voluntary, has been working, but it's during the day hours, which are causing a lot of problems for the residents. And overflights and just the sheer volume in the air is causing a lot of people distress, and that is not healthy for a community. One thing that I'm going to continue doing going forward is to working with the flight schools and with the aviation community to create a new plan that is going to be pushing some of the hours in the mornings from Saturday and Sunday morning to the 30 right, which is going to give people some hours to sleep. And I'd love to be able to chat with that later more. Thank you.
Candidate Foster.
Solving the airport noise and lead pollution issue is of critical importance to the town of Superior, and I fully support the town's lawsuit to try to get relief from that nuisance. If I'm elected, there are 4 things that I plan to do. One is to invite the Jeffco board and the airport director down to the town of Superior so they can experience firsthand what the noise is like. And hopefully through raising awareness, that gives them some empathy for what our residents are dealing with 24/7. I'll also push to ensure that the leaded fuel avgas gets phased out. I know that was promised to be this year, and it's been kicked to next year. So I would really push hard to make sure that gets phased out in 2025. I would also push the Jefferson County Commissioners to stop all nighttime flight school flights between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. to at least give some of the residents a little bit of relief during those nighttime hours. And then lastly, I would work with the residents to potentially organize a protest to show up at a Jeffco board meeting. And if we can get 500 residents to show up, I guarantee you that's going to make the news.
Candidate Horowitz.
I think the question was, are they infringing on Superior? And I 100% agree that they are. And I think that's probably the number one question that all 6 of us have been asked as, we threw our name in the hats for running, is what is your stance on the airport? I fully support the board's decision in the litigation that's currently going on. I was talking to a Superior resident yesterday, and he gave me some alarming facts, which are the ones that Sandy just told y'all. Number 6 in the country. I think everybody hears the noise. That's what's in front of you, right? But they're not thinking about the safety issue that's going on over our town. I think if we get people to listen through the lens of this is a safety issue and this could happen to our town, people are going to listen to that on a higher level whenever a safety issue comes up. I think about, unfortunately, in our society, nothing gets done for safety until something happens. So I will continue to push to make sure that something does not happen in our town.
For the next question, we'll start with Candidate Hammerly. What do you believe is the best approach for the town to incorporate affordable housing? Considering its importance to local businesses in attracting and retaining employees, how would you ensure that affordable housing is effectively integrated into the community?
The town of Superior has a bit of a problem. Most of our land is developed. However, we have done things as a board already to ensure that at least when new development happens, that at least 15% is affordable housing. The most important thing we can do is to make sure that when developers come to our community, that they have access to state and local fund or county funds that we are all contributing to as taxpayers. Our effort needs to be to support as best we can locally, but we have limited resources, but make sure and support access to county and state funds that will help build these developments.
Candidate Craycraft.
Yes, the housing issue can span, I think, a whole lot of different subjects. This particularly, in my opinion, is something that I would love to see kind of become more of a county-wide effort. If we don't have the land, how can we partner with a neighbor who can do that, and how do we support them in that? It's really about that collaboration and trying to take care of those who need it, especially for those that we need to be working in our businesses across the county, and how can we do best practices for everyone, helping others get their homes locally, and also support the businesses at the same time.
Candidate Serbu.
Well, the unique challenge Superior has is the majority of our buildable land is gone. It's been built upon already, and we haven't taken adequate steps to ensure affordable housing. One way, obviously, going forward is to work with developers and guarantee that they do a certain percentage of affordable housing, but I don't think that that's really going to get us where we need to be. Excuse me. We always push for 80% AMI, and the people that we need are 30% AMI. These are the people that truly need affordable housing in Boulder County, and specifically in Superior. If we are going to try to say, you know, it's the same conversation of we need people to, you know, cook our food and clean our houses and cut our lawns. 80% AMI is not going to get that. 30% AMI will. But even that's not going to work because we don't have anything to build upon. So I think the next best thing is multi-generational housing. Forgive me if I read this, but it'll help us reduce the housing shortage while simultaneously allowing our residents to age in place for generations and the same family to live together. A family wealth can be built this way by allowing future generations access to communities that they were once currently priced out of. And the generations help each other. Thank you.
Candidate Foster.
Having a diversity of housing options creates a much more dynamic and thriving community. Looking at opportunities to build on what the town has done with ADUs, look for opportunities to create and build townhomes, condos, duplexes, things like that, things that help first-time home buyers get into the market so they're not having to buy a $1.2 million home. It provides empty nesters opportunities. I'd work to remove regulatory barriers that are in the way right now for some of those condos and townhome developments. And I'd also just continue to look for other tax incentives and outside dollars from the federal government and state government to help us achieve this. By building more diverse housing stock really affords more folks to live in Superior, and having a more diverse community is a more dynamic community and a more resilient community.
Candidate Horowitz.
This is a problem that's not going to be solved in any 4 years that we're elected to, right? Superior is an affluent community. A lot of people don't even understand that we have a crisis here, and it's not only a crisis here in Superior, but statewide, nationwide, an affordable housing crisis. And like many of the other candidates mentioned, we don't have any land to build on, so we have to get creative. I like the idea of partnering with the neighboring counties, neighboring municipalities, but we have to get creative when we want to do that, right? There's federal funds out there on a federal level, state level, and then also on a county level. So any plans that we come up with, you know, it's nice to say that the developers are going to come in and we're going to mandate them, but there's no land left to build, right? We have very limited land. So, you know, there's Marshall Fire lots for sale behind us, but those funds have to come from somewhere. So we're going to have to get creative and work with everybody to solve this.
Candidate Kupner.
Affordable housing is a very huge asset here in this town. I feel if we had some affordable housing and we brought affordable housing to this community, it'd be very diverse, like Mr. Foster said. But at the same time, what is affordable housing anymore? Can you question what is affordable housing? The average income to live in town, you need $100,000 to live in town just to get by. Is that affordable? That's a real feasible question to ask. Is that affordable living? We need to make it affordable. We need to make it affordable, maybe some Section 8 housing for our Boulder County residents. People that are down on their luck, give them a hand up and a hand out at the same time. I think this town could pull it together. I know there's some lots and I know there's some land here in town still to build it. Thank you.
For the next question, we'll start with candidate Craycraft. What are your plans to better engage with and support home-based businesses in Superior, helping them grow into brick-and-mortar establishments that can create local jobs and contribute to the town's economy?
Thank you. Another excellent question, one that I love. I know we have a lot of home-based businesses currently, and that the chamber has done their kind of elevated their outreach to try to get to know those home-based businesses and how can we help them more. I would love to see that continuing further. How can we build the opportunities for residents to sit across a table from each other that might be doing different businesses, but have the same challenges? How much do I charge per hour? How many, things can I do to market myself, and how can we team up to do that? I would obviously focus on the chamber for a lot of that guidance and support, and as a trustee would fully be engaged in that effort, because I think it's something that many of us love to see businesses grow, because then they become those brick and mortars that we need in town as well. Thank you.
Candidate Serbu.
The chamber has indeed done a fantastic job in fostering homegrown businesses. One thing I have done, being a downtown resident and being very, very sensitive to the fact that I do not want Main Street to fail, is that I've met with a lot of people. The CNR ended, my airport thing never really ended the work on that, but I took it upon myself to start reaching out to homegrown businesses and home-based businesses and see what they could do to come into Main Street. The issue we've got with Main Street going forward is very, very expensive. So the one alternative we have is, because we do have a lot of live workspaces, start your business off in there, see if you can get a following. It's much, much cheaper, and the risks of being locked into a high lease are not as long. See what you can do, develop it, get your name out there, and then prove to the town and prove to Carmel and prove to the developer that you can be a viable business, and then create a shop in the brick and mortar and then flourish, because this town is built for businesses. We do want to see that, and so many people in downtown just cannot wait for the next restaurant or coffee shop to open.
Candidate Foster.
Small businesses are the foundation of the U.S. economy, and while I don't think we can have 10,000 small businesses in Superior. I would love to see that, but things that we can do to help small businesses grow from that home-based business to more of a brick and mortar, we can make sure that the town's economic development department is fully funded and fully resourced so that you can work in partnership with the chamber to attract new businesses to Superior. We can also rebate permit fees for once businesses reach certain revenue thresholds, so that it provides an incentive for those businesses to grow. And lastly, we can ensure that we continue to have the fastest permitting in Boulder County. I know that is a real benefit for businesses that are looking to open up in Superior, so I would continue to advocate to make sure that we are the fastest permitting agency in Boulder County and probably the state.
Candidate Horowitz.
As a former home-based business myself, I see a need for it. It's great. I want to understand what home businesses are here in Superior. Number one, work with the chamber, work with the economic development, and work with the businesses themselves to see, do they actually want that, and what do they need, and what do they want from the town and from the trustees, from the economic development, from the chamber to succeed and to be successful in Superior.
Candidate Kupfner.
Yes, I would offer tax incentives to small businesses here in town tremendously, to ask them, like, hey, where can we fill the gap? Where can we bridge the gap? Give them a tax incentive, give them tax breaks for small businesses, for the community of the residents of this town, and get some local people coming in the doors and selling out Boulder baked goods. Having that place sell out in one day would be awesome, as well as swimming lessons right across the street over here, to have that swimming pool full of little kids. That would be awesome. But give them some tax incentives to the residents, and as well as small business owners, which are residents in this town, would be really, really great. And then at the end, to see where we got to bridge the gap and see what we got to do to make things better for residents, small business residents, owners in this town.
Candidate Hammerly.
First of all, I would strongly support our continued support of the Superior Chamber of Commerce, because they've provided an outstanding resource to our home-based businesses to improve their techniques and skills and to be better at their business. The second thing I would like us to consider is the town of Superior currently has about $50,000 that we give have available to support businesses in our community. Right now, the efforts there are primarily focused on businesses that provide sales tax revenue to the community. I'd like to see us consider, at least for maybe a year or two, considering focusing that support on small businesses who are home-based and making the transition to be storefronts in town.
For the next question, we'll start with candidate Serbu. What are the benefits and consequences of home rule?
Well, the one benefit that I'm most excited is we get to control our own destiny. The state can't come in and start telling us, what we can do to a certain extent. I'm definitely in favor of home rule. But then the one caveat, of course, is you need the right board for home rule. I did have a discussion with one resident at Chili Fest and says, well, what if you get a board that wants to go off in a completely different direction? I think the people up here want to do the right thing with home rule. We do want to self-govern ourselves, and we do want to make things that Superior can be taken care of for future generations. The state obviously has its own agenda, and we need to make sure that we're protected going forward in the future. Erie's done it. A lot of other municipalities have done it to great success, and I think it could certainly benefit us in a number of different areas. Affordable housing, multi-generational housing. How we deal with a lot of things with this town, I think going forward is going to depend on us passing home rule. Thank you.
Candidate Foster.
Well, as a home rule commissioner, this is something that's very near and dear to my heart, so I appreciate the question. I obviously support home rule, and I think the most fundamental thing that it provides for the town is freedom to choose our own destiny. The state, once we go home rule, the state will no longer be in a position to take legislative action that as a town now, we would be forced to implement. And so again, home rule provides the freedom for us to choose if that's the right pathway for the town of Superior. The home rule is also a living document. It was intentionally crafted so that people, the community 20, 50, 100 years from now, if they want to change the charter to abide by the values at that point in time, they can do so. So it's really a guiding document, a framework document for the town for today and into the future.
Candidate Horowitz.
Well, there were two questions there, but I think only the first one needs to be answered, right? It gives the town of Superior autonomy to manage ourselves. But with that, we need to manage ourselves. So we have to have the right board in place to be able to do that. No consequences that I can see. So I do support the home rule charter.
Candidate Kupfner.
Being a 40-year resident of this town, watching this town go through changes, some I agree on and some I don't. But to get to the topic, is home rule good for a town? Yes, it is good for a town. Is it good for Superior? I don't know. I can't give you that answer because I don't know enough about it. I've seen good and I've seen bad from it. So when you ask me if I'm going to vote for it, I'm going to educate myself, and we'll see where I'm going to land on that. That's God's honest opinion. I'm up here. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know nothing about it, but I will educate myself when it comes time to election day, that I will probably see where I'm going to vote on. Thank you.
Candidate Hammerly.
Home rule is embodiment of the principle that the best government is the one that is closest to the people. In fact, 93% of municipal residents in Colorado live in home rule cities. 69% of Colorado residents live in home rule cities in town, of all Colorado residents. Recent surveys of the Superior citizens, 80% of our residents gave a positive rating to the services provided by the town, compared to 43% having a positive attitude toward the federal government. The Home Rule Charter is not intended to give the board more authority, but to give the town's citizens more say in what happens in their town. The Home Rule Charter was written by 9 local citizens who were elected by our residents, and I hope that our residents will support and approve the charter.
Candidate Craycraft.
Thank you. Also, a home rule charter commissioner. Had the honor of working with my fellow commissioners, and really I think we all kind of looked at each other at the end of that 6-month time together, and really were proud of the document we put together. We took the things that worked really well in the community and knew that they would last the length of this, whether it be 50 years, 100 years, and then took the things that maybe needed a little bit more high value, the areas in which we see as value as our residents. And obviously, it's been spoken here tonight, open space was a large focus of that document moving forward to protect this area that we all love. So I really look forward to inviting everyone, including Mr. George A. Kuffner, to one of our 4 series of events that we'll be having from now until December, when we do get a chance to vote on that home rule, and we'll talk more about it.
For the last question of the evening, we'll start with candidate Foster. For this, you will have 90 seconds. What is your approach to problem-solving complex issues with multiple conflicting perspectives?
Sounds like my last job interview question. My approach is really engagement. Engaging the community, engaging subject matter experts, trying to understand what the root of the issue is, collecting as much data as is available so that it can help me with an informed decision-making. We live in a democracy where people get a right and have an opportunity to weigh in on decisions that impact them, and I fully embrace that. If I am fortunate enough to become an elected official, I want to hear from the community on what's important to them, as well as their ideas and solutions or potential solutions to those challenges that the town is facing. I am not a person that has every single answer. I am curious, I'm inquisitive, and I want to have those conversations so that we can figure out a pathway forward and what the solutions are together.
Candidate Horowitz.
Yeah, much like Mike, this is what I deal with in my everyday life. I run a team of multidisciplinary consultant, project managers, engineers who have to constantly work out problems. I'm collaborative. I bring people to the table, listen to their answers. Like Mike said, I don't have all the answers, but I want to hear the ideas and suggestions that the town of Superior has. We live in the most educated county in all of Colorado, right? And I've seen, talked to many people, seen comments. You all have a lot of great ideas. So I think getting the community together more, bouncing ideas off each other, workshopping, understanding what your needs are, how the ideas that you have to solve those needs, and just bringing everybody to the table to have a voice.
Candidate Kuffner.
Well, a lot would be transparency when it comes time to resolving an issue. You want to be transparent with your peers and your community. And also, number one thing is lacking is you got to have common sense. Everybody needs to look at both sides from the table with common sense, how to resolve an issue. Both sides need to come 50-50 to meet in the middle. And when you have a resolution to solve a problem, you're there. You're step 1 and step 2. You just got to sign the document, and step 3, it's over. So I think a lot of it would be transparency with the community, reaching out and putting it on hold. And if you ain't getting a lot of transparency with the community and the community's not involving coming back, put it on hold. Make it last longer. Put that out more for the residents. Go beat on doors. As councilmen should be able to talk to the residents about transparency issues with no questions asked. These people elect us to sit up here. We're for the people, by the people. We need to be transparent as we can be with our residents.
Candidate Hammerly.
I have more than 40 years' experience working with nonprofit organizations who often operate on a very limited budget and have to respond to many, many, many different opinions. The most important way to solve any problem or address any issue is to listen and learn. We have a tradition here in Superior that we do not make decisions without engaging and listening to our residents. Personally, I depend very heavily on what I hear from our residents. I may come into a meeting having done a lot of research and have an opinion, but what I hear in the boardroom and in emails from our residents is what helps me make the best decision. That, to me, is the most important thing we need to do, and if we do that as trustees, then we've done our job.
Candidate Craycraft.
Thank you. I like to be surrounded by people who compliment me, who teach me every day, who bring facts to the table, who I can continually learn from. I think that's what I've loved about living here for so long now, is the backgrounds of everyone and what I get to learn from you. Coming up to a solution, whether it be as residents or if I have the honor of sitting up here, it would be looking around the table and saying, what is it you think? Why is that you think? And what is it going to take to have us meet to that conclusion that is the best for our community? I enjoy doing that. Obviously, none of us want to have any confrontations, but I also am comfortable with sitting here and looking across the table and saying, I don't agree with that, and I will vote accordingly. So I look forward to that.
Candidate Serbu.
I think it really comes down to who's the person sitting across the table. Can you empathize with the issues they're having? Everybody has a completely different worldview, and my worldview could be completely different. I have to be able to figure out how I can understand why they're feeling the way they do and how I can adjust my position to help them. It's a really simple thing. It's just based on empathy and understanding and the willingness to listen. Everybody has a different issue on things. Everybody has a different ideology and viewpoint. And if we're humble enough to realize that we don't know all the answers, but we're willing to look into these for the people, the community members, the people that live in Superior, we can make a much, much stronger community. When I was in college, I volunteered at a homeless shelter. And although I came from a very humble background, it was a shock to me of a completely different world set of people. And understanding just how people get to that situation made me much more empathetic and enjoying the job as a volunteer, because it was something I was completely unaware of. I was inexperienced. I was unexpecting of this, but I thought, you know what? This is a great opportunity to see how other people live, go through life, and what can we do on a daily basis to create change, to improve their environment, their living, and just their worldview. If we can improve the world for one day for one person, we've done our jobs. Thank you.
On behalf of the League and the Superior Chamber of Commerce, I would like to thank our candidates not only for their participation in tonight's forum, but also for their participation in the democratic process. Running for office and serving as an elected official is hard work. Thank you to our forum volunteers for their essential help. A huge thank you to our 2024 Platinum Level election sponsors, Premier Members Credit Union, and Wana Brands. If you are interested in becoming an election sponsor, please visit our website at www.lwvbc.org. And finally, thanks to the forum audience, both here and viewing on TV or online. It's up to all of us to make sure we respect and work to protect our democratic processes. We encourage everyone to go out and vote. For more information about the upcoming election and the candidates, please go to the League's voter information site. That's vote411.org. And remember, democracy is not a spectator sport. As we adjourn the candidate forum and move to a review of the ballot issues, please join me in a big round of applause for all of our candidates. This concludes the League portion of the evening. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Sure. And we'd like to ask everyone to please stay as we will have a presentation. We'd love to bring up our mayor, Mayor Mark Lasis, who'll be giving a presentation on the Superior sales tax increase.
Brandon, are you joining me?
Excuse me, Mark, I need to do something real quick. Where's the? Okay, I just want to make sure.
That's fine.
We're gonna go ahead and get started. Tracy, please.
Okay. How do I move? Okay, I got it. I think I got it. All right. All right, we ready to go? All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Mayor Mark Lasis. For those of you who don't know me, I typically sit over there, but today I am standing here. I want to say thank you to the League of Women Voters and also to the Chamber of Commerce for sponsoring this event. And thank you to all the candidates for being on the dais tonight and speaking at the candidate forum. It is not an easy job to serve on the Board of Trustees. I know I've been doing that for 8 years now, and it's certainly not easy to attend these candidate forums and answer all the questions and try not to stumble all over your words. So thank you to all. It takes a lot of courage and guts to run for office. And it certainly doesn't pay very well. So, but we appreciate it's a valuable and worthwhile endeavor. So thank you for your offering to serve. So I'm here to talk about the ballot measure that is on the ballot for November related to our sales tax question. The board referred this measure to the voters, and under Tabor, the voters need to approve a sales tax before it can be collected. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about tonight. But before I talk about specifically what we're doing with the sales tax measure, I want to talk about why we're doing it. And really it's, I think, something that everybody can understand, but the Marshall Fire really blew a hole in our budget, in our finances here in town. It resulted in an immediate $10 million worth of unbudgeted for expenses. Obviously we weren't anticipating that there was going to be a fire. We didn't budget for a new water filtration system when all of a sudden our reservoir was filled with ash and soot, but we still needed to provide safe drinking water. So we had $10 million worth of unbudgeted for expenses, most of which are not covered by FEMA and most of which have not been reimbursed by our insurance policies. But in addition to increasing our expenses, it also substantially reduced the revenues that we've been collecting from both sales tax and property taxes. We lost 400 homes and businesses, which is 15% of our property tax base. And large retailers like Target, for example, were closed for almost a year, which resulted in a substantial decrease in the amount of collections that we got from our sales tax over those 9 months that Target was closed. In light of those fiscal realities and challenges, the board did tighten its belt. We delayed various capital improvement projects to save money where we could. But we were also coming out of a pandemic, right? And we were also dealing with inflation skyrocketing and interest rates rising, and the cost of everything was shooting up. So we had a situation where, we had road projects that were just, each year, they were getting more and more expensive. And we were also seeing our infrastructure age as well. So not only did we have these unbudgeted for expenses, but we had decreased revenues. This 1-2 punch has really kind of put us in a position where we needed to think long and hard about how do we set ourselves up for success going on into the future. So in light of those economic challenges and kind of acknowledging the reality that we have aging roads, aging pools, aging playgrounds, coupled with the fact that each and every year when we get bids for these projects, they're getting more and more expensive. We're not seeing the cost of road projects going down. The board made the decision to refer this measure to the voters and ask for a sales tax increase for the next 25 years. So what we are doing is we're proposing a 0.315% sales tax. So that's 31 cents on a $100 purchase, and it is dedicated to capital improvement projects. So this is something that is going to be investing mainly in maintaining the existing infrastructure and projects that we have in town. It's not necessarily something that we were like, oh, let's build a rec center and this is a sales tax for that. It's really to service the existing infrastructure that is already built and needs maintaining. It'll generate an estimated about $1.6 million per year, and under Tabor, it'll allow us to bond somewhere between $16 to $20 million. It's all dependent on where the interest rates are going to be mid-2025, assuming that this thing passes. Over the past several years, the board has made really, talking about the roads, like substantial improvements in 88th Street. We fixed Colton Road. We fixed parts of Indiana. We fixed McCaslin. This past year, we've been working hard on Rock Creek Parkway. But looking at just the reality of what our needs are, the amount that we're spending each and every year on these capital improvement projects dwarfs the total need. For example, we typically invest $3 to $5 million each and every year on our capital improvement budget, and we've got $35 million worth of unbudgeted for expenses kind of looming into the future, and those amounts continue to grow. So, for example, the Rock Creek Parkway project, just in and of itself, from McCaslin down to 88th Street, is anticipated to cost $10 to $12 million. Fixing the North Pool, if anybody swam in the North Pool this summer, it has a hole in it. And I'm not an engineer, but my understanding is that you don't want to have a hole in a pool. It's not good. So we should fix that. The low-end preliminary estimates to fix the North Pool are somewhere around $3 to $5 million. South Pool also has great needs. It's at the end of its useful life, and we've got playground equipment and parks that need replacing. So one of the things that we looked at with this sales tax is we want to make sure that we're being mindful of what is the impact that this is going to have on businesses. How are we going to look compared to our neighbors? We don't want to set our businesses at a disadvantage where all of a sudden people are going to start shopping in a neighboring town because it's so much cheaper to shop there than in Superior. Right now, we're currently at 8.645%, and that's the total sales tax that's collected in Superior. Only about half of that actually goes to the town. A large chunk of it goes elsewhere. The proposed increase will bring us up to 8.96%, which is right in line with where Louisville is. So Louisville is at 8.96, and that was not a coincidence. That was very much intentional. We wanted to not be above what Louisville's rate would be. But this proposed sales tax measure would still put us below what Boulder's rate is and below Lafayette's. So this is just a chart that shows kind of what our neighboring jurisdictions look like, and we wanted to make sure that we're not out of line with what our neighbors are collecting. It was mentioned tonight during the candidate forum, but one of the reasons why we're looking at a sales tax increase as opposed to a property tax increase is that 70% of the sales tax is paid by non-residents. So we've got other people that come to Superior, that shop at Target, that shop at Costco. They drive on our roads. They cause impacts on our roads. So we think that it's more equitable for them to share the burden of those expenses rather than trying to look at an alternate revenue source, such as levying a property tax that only Superior residents would pay, because obviously the roads are shared by non-residents, so they should be paying that burden. We've looked at this. Some people have talked about, is the town, being reckless with the way that it's managing its finances or anything like that. But one thing that I think is important to note, we are currently at a 20-year low in terms of the amount of debt that the town currently has. Back in 2006, we had $70 million worth of debt. Right now, we're at $27 million. So we have been gradually paying down our debt over time. And I think that shows that the town staff and the town board has been very fiscally conservative when it comes to managing our finances. But we did go to the voters back in 2021 to ask for a transportation sales tax increase. At that point in time, the sales tax failed. So we've been trying to make do with what we currently have, but our budget isn't sufficient to cover those capital expenses. So a couple of the needs that have been identified, $35 million, we're in the ballot language, you'll see that it's referencing pool improvements, street projects, and park and playground improvements. I alluded to it briefly before. The north and south pool, they're built by Richmond when Rock Creek was built. They weren't built particularly well. They were built by a developer to just deliver an amenity, and they're aging and they need work. So both pools need significant renovation. If the ballot measure is approved, this is one of the things that I think is important to stress. So we're not counting any chickens before they're hatched, right? We were planning in the event that this ballot measure is successful so we can get out of the gates quick. So we've been visiting a bunch of pools in the area. We're working with a consultant to kind of identify some of the nice pools that are really done well, to see what things we can implement at both of our pools. And the plan, all things assuming that everything goes well, is that we would start renovation of the pool, the north pool in the fall of 2025, and then renovation of the south pool in 2026. So voters will start seeing the impacts of this sales tax immediately. They would be better designed, and they'll serve the community into the future. On our street and sidewalk improvements, I talked about Rock Creek Parkway, but there are a number of roads. Indiana Street between Torrey's Peak and McCaslin, Fifth Avenue needs paving in Original Town. We've got a lot of alleys in Original Town that need paving, as well as multi-use trails. But Rock Creek Parkway is, the lion's share of the needs and the budget. This summer, we did the section from McCaslin down to Pitkin. Down to Indiana. Right now, we have in the budget for next year to do the intersection of McCaslin and Rock Creek Parkway. But if we have the proceeds from the bond issuance, we have the design ready to go that we would not only do the intersection of McCaslin and Rock Creek Parkway, but we would complete the work from Indiana down to 88th Street. And Brandon is nodding, so that he's keeping me honest there, because he's the one who actually needs to make it happen. So this is another example of you're going to see immediate impacts from the issuance of the debt if the sales tax is successful. Some of our parks and recreation facilities, we have tennis courts that are cracking and need surfacing. We've got structural deficiencies with our community center that need work as well. A lot of playgrounds need shade structures, so there are just a number of different needs. Long and short of it is there's no shortage of needs, and there's actually excess needs based on what would actually come from the proceeds. So it would really be a question of what do we prioritize from these needs. So as I indicated, if not approved, the projects, they're all still important projects that we're going to try to figure out how to make do with our $3 to $5 million annual capital expenditures. But it's going to cost more. It's going to take longer. I'm sure we're going to see more resident complaints about the quality of our roads, the quality of our pools. I think at some point the pools probably would need to close if they're not invested in, because they're getting to the point where they're not going to be safe to operate. And that's it. So, in conclusion, the 0.315% sales tax ballot measure will last until 2050. It sunsets, and it if passed, will allow us to bond for approximately $16 to $20 million, depending on interest rates, and those proceeds would be used to fund our capital needs, which are mainly our roads, our parks, playgrounds, and our pools. Happy to take any questions. We can save that to the end. So.
Any questions? No?
Any questions? All right. Thank you.
And our next presentation is going to be from the Home Rule Committee. Dalton Clare, I'd like to invite you up.
Thank you very much. No presentation. We're just going to speak from the heart on this one. We've been in the nitty-gritty when it comes to home rule the last several months, so I think we're confident to be able to address this topic moving forward. But for starters, my name is Dalton Vallette. I served as the chair of the Home Rule Commission.
I'm Claire Dixon, and I was a member of the Home Rule Commission.
And can you speak into the
Oh,
mic
sure.
for the
Yes. My name is Claire Dixon, and I was a member of the Home Rule Commission.
So one of the things that I like to highlight first when it comes to home rule is the sheer number of other towns and municipalities throughout Colorado that have already adopted home rule. This is not something that's new. We have basically every single city, town that you can think of in Colorado has gone through the process of home rule. Denver, Pueblo, Colorado Springs, Boulder, Louisville, Longmont, Lafayette, Erie, you name it, more than likely they've already adopted home rule. If anything, Superior is trying to play catch up. This is a maturing process for Superior. This is really being able to show that we can actually manage things on our own and make decisions on our own as residents, as voters, as a board, and so forth. And I think this does lead to kind of the elephant in the room right now, which is the special election. There is going to be a special election for the Home Rule Ballot Initiative that's going to be held on December 10th. The Board of Trustees just approved this earlier this week. And I do think this is a great opportunity to be able to address some concerns that residents have about, can we trust the town to manage properly? And I believe working with town staff, working with the Board of Trustees, working with my fellow commissioners, we are absolutely in a position to be able to make this work. The document itself that has been approved of by the Board of Trustees and drafted by the commissioners has not changed since we transmitted it to the town several months back. You can read the 35-page document online, and the document was crafted in such a way to be readable for the average resident. This is not meant to be an onerous document. Again, it's only 35 pages. One of those pages is just signatures of all of us commissioners at the very end of the document. But it's really meant as a guiding, living document for the steps Superior can take for the future. This was stressed by a lot of the candidates talking earlier today. This gives the town options moving forward. We don't need to do absolutely everything that home rule gives the town the authority to do, but it does give us greater flexibility in the future that we would not be able to have currently as a statutory town. But a lot of people, I think, have immediate concerns. Well, if this passes, what sort of drastic changes are going to come about immediately? Frankly, the most immediate action that you would see is actually a changing of the Board of Trustees name. We adopted that instead Board of Trustees would be called the Town Council, which I think makes a bit more sense. We could have done anything we wanted. I joked we could have done Town Alderman, but we thought Town Council just made a little bit more sense than the current Board of Trustees, which is actually a requirement of a statutory town. Towns have to have their local governments be called the Board of Trustees. But looking at a number of different key positions that are detailed in the town charter, looking at responsibilities and rights and liberties presented, we really did not want to rock the boat. We wanted to make sure that things could operate smoothly and functionally as they currently are, while offering greater transparency for residents in the future, greater flexibility and accountability in the months and years ahead. And one of the other things that was highlighted is this is a living document. Say there are changes that need to be made in the document in 10, 15, 20 years because the values of Superior residents have changed. We have written this to address those concerns, and residents can have ballot amendments to actually change the charter document itself. This gives residents greater say, greater autonomy in what they want to see the direction of the town moving forward to. And I think regarding this as a constitution is really important and necessary to do. It's not going to cover every single law that's on the books, every single municipal regulation. It will not cover every single topic that Superior faces now or in the future. So there is no language about HOAs or RMMA in this document, but it does give flexibility and options to address such issues moving forward. And if residents decide to have amendments that speak to their values, again, there are processes moving forward to do exactly that. We can look at this document very similar as we can look to the United States Constitution. I think we all have certain amendments that we hold near and dear to our heart, but I have yet to meet anyone who holds the Third Amendment very close to their heart, which is specifically quartering troops in individuals' private residence. But at the time of the Constitution's writing, that was incredibly important to the drafters and the founders and the colonists at the time. So that's why it's the Third Amendment. Has that remained on the books? Absolutely. and that shows the values of the colonists at the time, as this document can show the value of Superior residents at this current time while offering flexibility to change as the years, decades, even centuries progress moving forward. Any other things before I go into some practical notes?
We just have about 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to finish what you're saying?
Sure. So with the special election in mind, we are doubling our efforts to educate residents moving forward. We are going to be hosting 4 educational sessions at the Superior Community Center, starting on October 15th, October 21st, November 14th, and December 2nd. All at the community center. We'll be having a full presentation to talk about home rule from anywhere to 30 to 60 minutes. If you really want to get into the nitty-gritty details about it, we have a website that you can go to, superiorhomerule.com, that has a number of different resources available, including the charter itself. And you can always reach out to contact us. We have, as commission members, a shared email. You will get in touch with all 9 of us at homerule@superiorcolorado.gov. Please, I encourage everyone to reach out to us, attend these informational sessions so you can learn even more about home rule and the benefits that it can offer Superior.
Okay.
One more presentation.
Yep, not a problem. Thank you.
And now I'd like to invite Aubrey, the Executive Director of Community Solutions, and she'll be representing RTD tonight to give this next presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome. How do you to go to the next this one? Okay. Okay. Just kidding. Okay. Tell me when. Yeah. All right. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Thank you for a few minutes of your time to give you a brief overview of a ballot issue to support RTD's exemption from Tabor, ballot issue 7A. My name is Audrey DeBarros. I'm with Commuting Solutions. We are a local transportation management organization that's been an advocate for multimodal transportation for 26 years. And we are a participant in a Denver Metro Regional grassroots campaign to support ballot issue 7A passage. I wanted to thank the Superior Chamber for this opportunity. The Superior Chamber is supporting ballot issue 7A, as is Mayor Lasis. The town board, through the Denver Regional Council of Governments, is also supporting it, and they're considering a resolution of their own very soon. So your local leaders are supporting this ballot issue. I live in Louisville personally, but I did live in Superior for 2 years. I'm a Marshall Fire survivor myself, just moved home in December, and just wanted to say thank you so much for a safe place to land during those 2 years. Director Geisinger couldn't be here today. She has a personal commitment, so I'm here in her place. So thank you for again for the hospitality. Now where to? Oh, you're going to do it for me. Okay. Just a quick backgrounder on RTD. You can go on. If you don't know a lot about RTD, it serves over 3 million people in the Denver metro area, 8 counties and 40 municipalities. It is the largest transit agency in the state of Colorado. They serve over 65 million trips last year, which is pretty phenomenal. They are funded by a 1% sales tax that includes 0.6% for the base system operations of transit and rail, as well as a 0.4% that was for the Fast Tracks expansion program that funded 6 commuter rail lines and our Flatiron Flyer service along US 36. Next slide. So RTD has been exempt from Tabor for a long, long time, and it was really in the pursuit of helping them to complete 2 rail lines down south back in the 1990s. And this year they will be completing the bonds on those, and therefore they will now be no longer exempt from Tabor unless we choose to help them out. Next slide. And the issue with this is about $600 million for RTD would be subject to Tabor, and that would be equivalent to up to $50 million next year. So for RTD, this is critically important just to their base system operations. This is not about visionary expansion plans. It's really just to keep the service that's running out there maintained and to hopefully grow service over time. Next slide. There's a really broad-based community support for this ballot issue. As I said, local mayors, the Metro Mayor's Caucus, many nonprofit organizations like Commuting Solutions throughout the Denver area are coming together to support RTD during this critical time. And the mayor can say a little bit more if he chooses about the regional support politically for it. But next slide. And what would the funding go towards? It's really, as I said, sustaining the existing service that's out there and helping it to grow. RTD is still recovering from COVID. We still don't have a lot of the service that we had before COVID in place in our community, so they're still coming back. And without this funding to just keep building and to keep growing that base system, the community, their service, and their ability to come back even stronger is really going to be compromised. It'll go towards just the repair and maintenance of the rail lines, bus service, bus stops, that sort of infrastructure. So it's not really anything terribly sexy, but it is critically important to helping people, especially those who need the service the most, get around. Next slide. I don't think I need to spend a lot of time on this. I mean, we're in Boulder County. We really care about the accessibility for all ages and abilities. We care about the air quality, climate, and providing affordable transportation for all. So, and relieving traffic congestion, which RTD is critically a part of. So that is sort of the nuts and bolts of this ballot issue. We're here to just ask for your vote of yes. I don't need to be shy of that. The League of Women Voters has left. So in my campaign hat, I would love you to, or love if you could get behind it. And for more information, you can go to our campaign website. So thanks so much.
I just want to thank you all again for taking the time to come here, and for everyone that's at home watching this. This will be available on YouTube. So if anybody misses it, or if you hear other residents that they're like, oh, I couldn't make it, please share that link with them so they can be up to date on what issues are happening. And thank you again, and have a great night.